Let's bring in now President Trump's former impeachment lawyer, David Schoen, to talk about some of the lawfare and the latest moves now that Trump has won the election and the popular vote. Love to add that in. David, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So he promised to fire Jack Smith in 2 seconds. Doesn't look like he'll have to. It looks like the DOJ now is going to unwind these. You cannot prosecute a sitting president. I don't know. What does Jack Smith do? You know, is he going to fade off into the sunset? And what about some of the other legal hurdles with Donald Trump in the lawfare?
Yeah, I think there's a real question. I'm hoping that Jack Smith does the right and professional thing and simply steps down, winds up the cases, dismisses them, and that's the end of it. But I worry, based on his approach and the approach of his team, who I also have no confidence in, they may try to write a report. Remember, they did that superseding indictment that was completely unnecessary and inappropriate just to tell the public a story, unchallenged story. But you asked the important question, what about the other cases? I think there's a very strong argument to be made that the New York prosecution and the Georgia prosecution must be dismissed. You know, a lot of people say, well, there's this Department of Justice memo from October 16th, 2000, saying that the Department of Justice is barred from pursuing a criminal indictment or prosecution during a sitting president's term. And that's what Jack Smith is acting on. But it's not just that that's only binding on the Justice Department. That's true. But it's the underlying principles that I believe bar the New York and the Georgia cases. And that's the separation of powers principles that applies. First of all, we cannot have a president's attention being taken up by these kinds of things. So the question is,
right.
and they asked this in the memo. Remember, this memo is written, the 2000 memo is written by a judge sitting on the same court in D.C. that the case is in front of. And what they say is, we can't just stay the case either, because it still impinges on the right to govern. A president is unique.
That's right.
So I think dismissal is the only course.
Let's just play a little bit of Letitia James, never one to shy away from trying to go after Donald Trump, even in fact campaigning on it. She went out and did a news conference yesterday. We're just going to play a little taste of this.
I congratulate the President-elect Donald Trump, but we will not compromise our values or our integrity.
She continues to say we're prepared to fight once again. What does she mean, David? What is going on in her mind?
Right. I'd also ask the question, what does she mean by their values and integrity? Because I think they abandoned any sense of integrity with the cases that they brought, especially the case in front of Judge Engoron, charging a fraud with no victim, no reliance, no loss, etc. Case is going to be reversed. She just means, you know, she's posturing here. And she just has not learned her lesson. I believe fully, and I've said this for the last 2 years, that these abusive cases hitting all at once bear no relationship to the law or reality, are part of what led to the re-election. That's right. Backfire.
We're tight on time. David Schoen, come back anytime.
Sure.
Great to have you. I know we'll be watching what happens with this potential sentencing on the 26th. It's good to have you in, sir.